All right, guys, welcome back to the Dave Gold Evolve podcast. I'm your host, Dave Gold. This is the Dave Gold Evolve podcast where I interview industry leaders in the spiritual, dating, and business world to help men truly evolve. Just a quick shout out to our sponsor at the Self Love Army. Go to findselflove.com if you want a truly eye-opening experience. Now, my guest today is a very interesting character. His name is Mitch Miller. He is an expert on marketing and branding and has a very interesting podcast called Father Freedom's Unsafe Space. He also had a company called Oppose Media that I hope to learn a little bit more about today. And his kind of punchline is question everything. So welcome. Thank you so much for coming on, Mitch.
Thank you, my friend. Can't wait to drop down some magic fairy dust for everybody listening.
So how about you tell the listeners a little bit about you, where you are in the world today, but also how you got to where you are, your journey in life.
All right. So I'm in Thailand right now. My dream was always to be able to travel the world. And in order to do that, without robbing banks or having an inheritance or family who had money, I had to figure out how to do that. And I didn't want to do it the poor way where you kind of just backpack everywhere and then just, wonder what you're going to eat tomorrow. I didn't like the idea of that. I wanted to be able to make money, but not have to be stuck in a job that's in a geographical location to do so. And so that was my dream that was my dream starting in 2004. It took until about 2012 to be able to do that. And it was excruciating along the way. So, my parents, they never grew up with much money. My father was sick all the time. So my mom was kind of doing school and work at the same time to take care of all of us. And so I didn't have the best upbringing as far as like habits and kind of no role models to go off of. So I was a bad kid. I was pissed off that my father was sick. I was angry that we never had any money. I didn't like that other kids were popular and I wasn't. And so I had a lot of like teenage angst. So, cue in Marilyn Manson, and I was all into the heavy metal stuff, got into heavy metal bands, rock bands. We learned how to play our instruments just from scratch after school. And then we ended up joining the high school talent show. And then we kind of never stopped playing. So I dropped out of high school to play music. And then we started kind of building the popularity of those bands just out of sheer passion, really. We didn't know fucking clue what we were doing. And so we started putting on shows. This was in Canada.
Okay. We're in Canada?
Canada. Yep. In Canada. That's where I'm from.
Where in Canada?
And so I'm in Thailand right now, but I grew up in Canada.
Where in Canada did you grow
up? Edmonton and Vancouver.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, where are you from, by the way?
I'm from the suburbs of Philadelphia.
Okay, cool. Which is falling apart right now.
Absolutely.
But anyway, yeah. So music was my life, and we were gonna go take it all the way, right? We were gonna be fucking rock stars and all of that. And I actually thought it was gonna go in that direction. So I was in a couple bands at once. One was a heavy metal band, and we were putting on shows all around the city, and we recorded like 8 different albums and stuff like that. And then I hopped into another band, and we ended up getting on the radio in Canada, all across Canada, top 10 actually, which was super cool. And toured all across Canada and all of that. But then that kind of, our singer went nuts, and there went the band, because he was also the songwriter and the singer. So when I was like, dude, you're gonna at least lose your mind and lose your shit. At least do it after we're famous. Like that's kind of how you do it. Like you hold your shit together. So anyways, that went down the tubes, and I had like this little crisis. I'm like, what the hell am I going to do? I don't have school. I'm pretty stupid. I don't know much. I know music, but now I have a bad taste in my mouth. I don't want to do music because you have to rely on 5 other idiots to get you somewhere. It's like, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't compute. Artists are not good business people. And I wanted to make money because I never had any. And so I went through this tiny period of just being, I guess you could say, disillusioned. And I ended up having a heart attack when I was 21. And I almost died. Yeah, it's crazy. I almost died. but I was young. So I was 21. So like I got out of the hospital within 3 days and it was like it never happened. Everything was cool. Like I was lucky, very lucky.
Mhm.
And then that set me on a quest to like, okay, I got to fucking fix myself here. I got to figure out who I want to be. And so I just started going down a rabbit hole of like, first it was Robert Kiyosaki, then Tony Robbins, and then Brian Tracy, all the typical self-help guys. And then RSD, I 2004, 2005, I think. I started following them and I was like, oh shit, like I can change myself. So it was like this whole self-help rabbit hole.
Mhm.
And at the same time in 2004, 2005, I was like getting into all the marketing guys because I was like, okay, I want to be able to make the most amount of money. What skills do that? And I was like, well, sales is 1-to-1, but then I was like, marketing is 1-to-many. So it's sales with leverage. So I was like, I'm going to focus on marketing. Then I was like, well, what part of marketing is the most powerful that gives you the most leverage? And I was like, oh, it's copywriting. So that's what I started studying. And then like, I'll just go a decade forward because I couldn't get my shit together. Like I was still me. I had all this fucking knowledge. I knew what to do, but I was still just this guy I was still myself. So I had to change myself. It didn't matter what kind of strategies and tactics I had because they would always fail. So yeah, 10 years of trying to do that paid off eventually, but it was excruciating. It was inch by inch. I went homeless in 2008 in Vancouver.
wow.
Yeah, it was so like I didn't have to go homeless, but I couldn't even face my parents to ask them to bail me out because I talked such a big game. Like I knew like, dude, I had all the world's secrets, just like many people probably listening. It's like, you have all these amazing strategies, tactics, you have these fucking secrets of the world, but you're like, why can't they work for me? It's like, oh, cause you're still you as a person. It's
Mhm.
like, right. It's like you could have the world's greatest golf club, but if you still swing like an idiot because you don't know how to golf, then it doesn't matter. The golf club doesn't mean shit. So anyway, inch by inch, man. And eventually I started a landscaping company with my friend Mac back in 2011 in Canada. And we got that up to $40,000 a month, which was like $1 million to us then. And then, you know, every winter that would come, it was like, Jesus, man, this winter is this bullshit. Like we don't want to, and you don't want to do the landscaping in the winter and shovel snow. So then, and you know all about shoveling snow in Philadelphia. It's fucking brutal there.
Absolutely.
And so I was like, okay, this is it. I'm like, I know marketing inside and out. I'm going to take this to the hilt. I'm going to build a personal brand and I'm going to fucking go be a marketing consultant because that's what I want to do. So I set out to do that. And it was like a life or death thing. I said, if I'm going to do this and I don't give a fuck, like if I don't do this, I'm going to die trying. Or blow my fucking brains out if I don't do it. I was like, I'll fucking kill myself. I don't care. I said, this is happening. Like because I was watching, I'd watch the Will Smith, there's a Will Smith motivational video on YouTube. It's awesome. And he's like, if you get on a treadmill beside
Yep.
me, I'm going to die. Either I'm going to die or you know, or I'm going to win. It's like, but I'm not, you know
That
what I
might
mean?
have
It's
been an interview with Ellen DeGeneres.
maybe, right? Cause I don't know where the original came from.
Oh.
But I was like, oh, I'm like, okay, that's how you do it. So I was like, that's it. I'm all in. I quit my job because I'm like, I have to do this full time, but I didn't really have any money. And it was when I gave that like ultimatum to myself, like I'm doing this or I'm going to fucking die trying. It was 6 months after that. Still, I didn't make $1. It was crazy. But then the floodgates opened. And then it was like 5,000, 10,000. There's like 10,000 in a day. There was 10,000 in a fucking hour. And then we started like, I was doing marketing for people. So I wasn't a consultant yet. I was doing the marketing, getting the results. And
So
then we had a client. We did a.
what changed there? What changed there though? How did you make that shift right there?
Well, this is funny because the shift happened 6 months before I made the money. But the shift was I'm going to do this or die trying. But the actual change when I started making money was just the consistency of doing the same thing until it actually built up momentum. See, everybody does something. They do it for a bit and then they fumble. And then right before it was about to work, they stop and do something else because it's a grind or something. So it's like the personal brand. People like they try hard and then, oh, it's not really working. I try something else. No, just fucking keep going for a bit. It's like starting a diesel truck in the winter. It's like that shit doesn't start immediately. You gotta work that shit up. It's like or pumping pumping the old school water well. You gotta pump that shit up for a while. Nothing's coming out of the thing. You're getting pissed off. You stop. it was just about there to come out of the pipe, you know?
Absolutely.
So the shift, that's the thing. People need to understand everything's a lagging indicator. So the shift happens, and then that doesn't mean the result happens immediately. The shift happens, and you keep taking the right actions, and then the results come. But if you make the shift and you're like, oh, the shift is the result, then it's not going to work for you, because you'll give up not seeing results. Oh, fuck, I guess not. I guess it wasn't the shift. It was a shift. But so I started getting consistency. I said, I'm not going to give up on this one thing, because I was like, I'm going to be an affiliate for fucking this product or that product, or I'm going to do SEO, or I'm going to learn this. And I had all these stupid ideas, and I'd do them a little bit. And so when I said, I'm going to do this one thing, I'm going to sell marketing services, or I'm going to die trying. And then I did. Lo and behold, you stick at something, you fucking get good at it. It's like, that's not even a novel idea, right? But it's true. Like, you know, it's like, okay, you play guitar for fucking 3 weeks, you get pissed off, you're not good, then you go to drums, and you go to violin. It's like, of course you're not going to get good at everything. Stick at the fucking guitar. So anyways, to make a long story short, like, we started getting such good results for our clients with copywriting and marketing. We're doing, like, you know, we took a company from doing 178 grand a month to doing 1.4 million a month.
And this is with Opposed Media.
Yeah, so the Opposed Media. So we started getting all these crazy results. People started taking notice. And then I started, like, being like the guru type thing. I'm like, okay, I build a personal brand of this. So I wrote a book just for the branding of it, for the authority and credibility.
What's your book called?
I have 5 now.
No way.
Yeah. It's crazy. One of them's called Shit to Think About When Shitting. Okay. And it's a toilet book. It's 151 articles on business and marketing that you can, when you're taking a dump, you can read one. And it's a low commitment dating for my book. Anyway,
speaking of low commitment dating, okay, I look at like the dating apps is perfect for when you're taking a shit, because, you know, it doesn't take too much investment, and there's so much romance there. You met the girl while you were taking a dump.
That's right. Yeah, it's like I swiped right on you. I swiped right when I was wiping right.
Oh man.
But anyway, so then it just turned into like seminars. And like, when we started doing 10 seminars a year in different parts in the world, getting 50 to 100 people at each one. And then different, like all sorts of crazy shit and TED Talk and all that. But it all exploded randomly. It's not random, but it exploded for me. And I'll talk about strategies. I did that, but it just exploded like crazy and all this different stuff. And the coolest thing about it, the last thing I'll say about this, is like, it was all done organically through Facebook. All of it. Like I would write posts, and I would fill 10 different seminars with 50 to 100 different people in different parts of the world through just organic Facebook posts. All
right. But I did want to jump back to the golf example. I really like that one. But first, since you brought up Facebook, okay, I know you have a very complicated relationship with Facebook, and you've even said at times that Facebook is a cancer, but now you're saying that Facebook is what made you successful with business. So what is, you know, and we met through Facebook. So what is kind of going on there with your Facebook relationship and Mark Zuckerberg relationship?
Yeah, it's love hate. I mean, I got nothing against little Marky Mark there. I don't know nothing about him or his intentions or anything like that. I mean, he's probably just, I don't know. Anyway, this Facebook profile I have is new. Actually, it's only a couple months old, because I nuked the old one because I got shadow banned. I got outright banned 7 times in 2019, and it was just like, from then on, my reach, my engagement, everything was just, they just shut it down. And I was like, okay, this is fucking bullshit. So I just nuked it and started a new one. But see, it's not that the tool's cancerous. It's designed to really fuck with you. And you have to be a goddamn monk to not let it, or not let the habit get to you in the first place. The thing with Facebook is, it's excellent for personal branding type stuff, because it's a soapbox, man. Everybody, it's like, it's set up. It's even called your Facebook status. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's all meant to just show off. And I think Facebook is unique in a way where it's like, it really promotes conversations or what we want to call arguments. More than say Instagram, you don't see people arguing in comments. Yeah, discussion. It's all that type of shit. So, I have a love-hate relationship with it. right now, we barely use it.
Mhm.
And it's when you see, here's a problem for anyone listening to. If you're branding yourself and your marketing and you only rely on one channel because maybe you got some momentum on one channel, so you're going to double down on that channel, like say Facebook, and you don't branch out, you're not rocking your email list, you're not retargeting and doing some stuff, you don't have a Medium account, for example, or you're not hitting up Insta or YouTube. It doesn't mean you hit them all up, but if you don't have a Parthenon, as Jay Abraham called, if you don't have different pillars and you only have one pillar, then you're at the mercy of that pillar. So anything happens, it's just going to disrupt you and just screw with you hard. And it could topple your entire business. That's insane to me. So now we're taking a more wider approach, I guess you could say. So Facebook is cancerous to me in the fact that it promotes people fucking arguing with each other.
Quick question. What is, for the viewers, what does it mean to get shadow banned and how did that happen?
All right, so shadow banned is a controversial thing because people say that it doesn't exist because it's a shadow ban. It's like you're not told that you're shadow banned. That's why it's called a fucking shadow ban. So a shadow ban is essentially when the platform decides that your content should be seen by less people. And so I got banned 7 times, and then what happened was, and I noticed this because like I run my whole business on this. We did metrics on this shit. Like I know exactly how many likes my post would get and comments and shit like that and sales, and how many people would see my stories and shit like that. Everything got fucking cut in half one day. Boom, never came back. Just cut in half, directly in half. And I was like, okay. And that's it. And they don't tell you they did that. It just happened. A lot of people who get shadow banned, or a lot of people who say they're shadow banned, it's like, no, you're just not popular. No one gives a fuck about what you have to say. You're not shadow banned. Your content sucks. But shadow banning is real, and it happens to some people, and there's nothing you can do about it because you're not even told that it's happening, and it's almost like this underground thing.
Before we move on, so you said that for the viewers, the best way to have a healthy marketing strategy is to be diversified. Okay, just like with
Yes.
your stocks, same thing with your marketing. Have different platforms that you're working on. So, which platforms are you most active on, and why?
So YouTube is important to me right now. We're rebuilding Opposed Media from the ground up, and so we actually get the joy of actually doing it from scratch, I guess you could say, the right way. So so Facebook is a place because of a lot of my former audience is there,
Mhm.
and they just really want to consume articles there. When I write articles, my team will post them on Facebook, so I don't have to fucking build an addiction and be there. Now that's one thing, which means we'll run Facebook ads to our stuff on that platform. So we'll do organic, we'll do paid, not through the page, but through my personal profile. And then YouTube is going to be very important going forward. So we're going to be building videos there. Now the podcast is super important also, and then I'm a big fan. So for me, it's YouTube, podcast, Facebook,
Mhm.
and um, I'm a big fan of I guess you could call, what do you call this, maximizing. So for example, let's say you and I do a video podcast together. Now that video goes on YouTube, and then that rip the audio out, that goes on Spotify. Then you take video clips and you chop them up, and then you chop them up. Some go on YouTube, and then those little clips lead to the main clip that leads to a product or something like that. And then I would take some clips and chop them up and make them Facebook friendly, so they're actually dimensions and everything's for Facebook. And I'd post those two, and those would lead to maybe lead to the full one on Spotify or something like that. So I'm a big fan of like cutting things up and reuse them in multiple ways.
Okay, so with that being said, how much content, um, in terms of long form content, do people still consume? And is it practical to come out with a podcast where the episodes are, kind of just free flowing like what we're doing right now?
Mm,
Even the Joe Rogan podcast, if I'm going to bring that up real quick. I mean, I
yeah.
love Joe Rogan. I really support the podcast, but sometimes it is so long and on different tangents that I can't really follow it. So, what do you think when
Right.
it comes to really getting your message across and engagement is the best strategy for people that are trying to conquer the online marketing world.
Yeah, so I'm old school, so I'm almost dogmatic on the idea that the more you tell, the more you sell. And that doesn't necessarily mean you're selling a product. It could mean you're selling idea. It could mean you're selling attention. The more you tell, generally, the more you sell. So what happens is, this is like a big debate in an old school, like sales letters. It's like, okay, do I write a 50-page sales letter to sell something that never ends? And do I put people through that? And are they even going to read it? Or do I make short, pithy ads that are like Apple or something? And the answer is, according to conversions, according to the data, is virtually almost always the more you tell, the more you sell. So the longer your sales letter is, as long as you're not repeating yourself, as long as you're putting stuff in there that's relevant, and then the more you tell, the more you sell. So the idea that, like, for example, a 54-page sales letter or a 3-hour Joe Rogan podcast, they're super long form like that. Is everybody going to watch and read that long? No, they're not. But they're going to cherry pick what they need. So Joe Rogan, he makes the clips. That's super cool. I watched most of the clips. Sometimes I try watching a full episode, and like, I just, after 40 minutes, I turn it off too. I just drift, and it's fine. But the people who want to watch 3 hours, they watch 3 hours, and you want to watch 40 minutes, or you only make it 40 minutes. Just because you only make it 40 minutes doesn't put enough of a sour taste in your mouth that you won't watch again. You just may dip out at 10 minutes next time, or it may capture your attention so much that you watch the whole 3 hours or something. And the same with a long form sales letter. I don't know. See, I look at it like this, and this is what people really need to understand, because people really a lot of times have an aversion to long form sales copy. Is like, imagine you went door to door, because sales copy is talking to a person. One individual person is reading it at that time. So if you went door to door to try to sell your product, and you knocked on the door, and then they answered, and then I whispered in your ear, I said, "Hey man, you can only use 3,000 words to sell this person." Once you hit those 3,000 words, you're done. You have to you either get the sale at that moment when you stop talking, or you have to just walk away. And that makes no sense, obviously, because you're having a conversation with the person. They may have extra questions. They get their wife in there. There's so many things. Oh, maybe they need to see 3 more testimonials. Maybe they need to hear more about these benefits or these features. And that takes as long as it takes. And so by going long form, whether it's in a content article or a podcast, or even a sales letter, by putting it all out there, everybody gets what they need. So the person who's only reads quickly and doesn't need all that shit, they're not going to be turned off by it. They'll still just scroll it, look at the price, look at a few things. They'll take what the pieces that they need, put it together in their head, and they'll buy. The people who need to read every fucking word will read every fucking word, and then they'll buy. So it's like a catch-all, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that putting the price on a sales page is effective?
Now this depends. So it just totally depends. So if it's, so generally speaking, every market has a threshold at which the price is goes from an impulse purchase to a point where they need to begin asking other people or getting other people's blessings to do so, right? So in most, and this is why you have to do testing in your market, but in most markets, $100, and in most Western markets, $100 is kind of the threshold for making an impulse purchase without having it. Like, the guy can make it, you can buy a dating product, and, it doesn't matter if somebody knows, he doesn't have to tell anybody, he could buy it at 3 a.m., $100 and under. But over $100, getting to a couple $100, now you're getting to the point where he's going to have to start maybe at least running it by a friend or something, like, it gets to the, and then when you get into the thousands, it's like they basically need permission from somebody. And it could be a business partner. It could be, they need permission and blessing from somebody. So the higher you go, the higher price you go, the more people are actually involved in the sale, even though we might not realize that. And so my point is that you, over a couple $100, it's best to probably do some sort of presentation, whether that's a webinar or some sort of presentation. But I did a sales letter one time just to be cheeky. I just did the full sales letter, said it was $10,000. And then I had a guy message me within 20 minutes and said, where can I send the 10 grand? And then I got it. So it's like, it's not hard and fast rules, but generally speaking, if it's below the threshold, or dancing around the threshold of impulse purchase, absolutely you can put the price there. Also, you can put the price down if it's high, if you want to do it for positioning, so people know you have high prices. You can be strategic sometimes. You'd be like, okay, I'm going to blow a lot of sales here by putting this big price here, but I'm going to use it because then people will know I have a high price.
So you said when you got into personal development, it started with Tony Robbins and Brian Tracy, but then you shifted over into the marketing side. So what was your first exposure like with marketing, and who were some of your mentors that helped you to get to where you are today?
Man, it was very specific. I'll never forget. So Tony Robbins used to have this interview series called Power Talk, and it was in the late 80s, early 90s or something like that. And it was like it was an interview series where he would interview experts in different topics and introduce us to different topics in general and different experts. And so he interviewed a guy named Jay Abraham, and I knew nothing about marketing, nothing. I didn't even know what it was. And that was kind of the point. Tony was like, so Jay, what is marketing? How do you explain this to everybody? And Jay Abraham was like, he did his definition of marketing. And then he said something that I'll never forget. This is what changed my life. And this is what made me 100% committed to figuring out marketing. So he said, well, and he's like, when you know marketing, he's like, here's what you can do. He's like, this is what I did. Cause Jay Abraham, for those who don't know, is probably like the marketing godfather. I mean, he is so wise, and his experience is so insane. He helped found FedEx. He also, under his advice, they started the entrepreneur company, entrepreneur magazine and stuff like that. Yeah. He's insane. I think he has over $2 billion in sales accredited to him, from him and his clients and shit like that. Anyway, he said this. He said one time a few years ago, he said this company came to me and they were selling gold investment, and they had an ad that was running in the newspaper and all around the US, and the ad said bank financed 2/3 silver and gold, and that was the ad, basically, call or whatever. And they came to Jay. They said, okay, listen, we're making enough money to pay our salespeople, pay our bills, but we're not really making any profit. Can you help? And so Jay Abraham made them a deal. And so the way they were selling them was in the newspaper, like little classified ads. It said bank financed 2/3 silver and gold. So Jay said, okay, I will do this for you. I'll do this on a commission, basically. You give me a commission of every sale, and I will make these ads work. And so what he did is he just changed that little classified ad, that's like a little box of text. He changed the words to say this. He said, gold is trading at, for example, $700 an ounce. Give me just $450 an ounce, and I'll give you all the gold you want. Because it's still saying, like, we're financing 1/3 of it for you, but he just made it sound better. And just those changes in words, like we're talking a few letters in words, that campaign brought in over $18 million a year. And in fact, Jay's commission for the next 18 months was $50,000 a month. And all he did was change a few words in a tiny box one time to make 50 grand a month for 18 months. And as soon as I heard that, I said, he just fucking moved some squiggles around for 5 minutes and made 50 grand a month for 18 months with no additional work. I said, this is voodoo. What the fuck is this? Turns out that's copywriting, right? The art of making words more persuasive. And I was like, holy shit. And that's what did it, man. That's what sent me on the path, because it's unbelievable.
So Jay Abraham got it all started for Father Freedom.
Yeah, Jay Abraham and then Dan Kennedy. Those two guys.
Dan Kennedy.
Yeah, those are my two fathers. Jay Abraham is like the philosopher of marketing, and Dan Kennedy is like the just do step 1, 2, and 3, you idiot. Who cares about the philosophy?
Mm-hmm. Tell me more about that real quick. About Dan Kennedy.
Dan Kennedy is if you look at like, so for example, one of the great gurus in our marketing space is Frank Kern, maybe one of the greats of all time. You put on a list, he'd probably be top 5 always. Frank Kern was asked in an interview many years ago. He said, who is your greatest marketing teacher of all time? And he said, take away everything. Take away Tony Robbins, take away all my knowledge, take away everything that I know. Give me Dan Kennedy, in 3 years, I'll be right back where I was. So Dan Kennedy he created many of the gurus of today. Like, he created the brand and the marketing, and taught Ross Jeffries how to build the dating brand.
Mm-hmm.
And look where that went. Joe Polish and basically most of today's gurus were direct students of Dan Kennedy's. He just had this ability to know how to do marketing, man. It's just weird. He just knows.
Incredible. So you
Gurus.
talked about in one of your podcasts, higher status branding and marketing, but yet underneath it all, there's actually no higher status. So what do you mean by that?
Is that exactly how I said it? Because it's not really ringing a bell phrased that way.
Yeah, I think that you were talking about higher status. So the authority that people put out online,
Right.
but how behind that, maybe it's just a facade. Maybe it's just kind of an image that they're putting out, and that there actually is no higher status. Does that ring a bell?
It kind of rings a bell. I'm probably gonna circle around it for a second before I stab into the core of it. Yeah, I mean, so people want to be popular online for many different reasons. Most likely to sell something, unless you're a complete narcissist, you want to just be popular for being popular. But in that case, you should probably want to make money too. Like, but so it's always a game of status. It's always a game of status, and it's actually quite simple. Actually, it's a game of supply and demand. So it's an old school economic principle, and it's supply and demand. It's very simply the perception. If the perception of your availability or your supply is lower than the perception of the amount of demand that there is for you and for your supply, then you will have higher status. You will be in demand. You will be in demand. If your perceived supply is higher than your perceived demand, then you're going to not be as in demand. It's kind of actually that simple. And so when I first started, I engineered the supply and demand in my favor by even my website said, I didn't have any clients yet, but my website said, put your email and your name in to get on the waiting list. Now, I didn't say, and I didn't say that I was full, because I'd be lying. But I said, get on the waiting list. Now, the truth is, it's a waiting list, whether or not I fucking get back to him in 24 hours or a week.
Absolutely.
It's like, it's even if it's a minute, it's a waiting list. But it implies that I'm in demand and I'm busy. And that's extremely important, because if you don't have the supply and demand working in your favor, then people are going to assume that something's wrong with you, especially if you're freelance, if you're one person. This goes with dating too. It's like, if people believe that you, like, especially if you're a freelancer, if you're not full with clients or almost full with clients, then the people think there's something seriously wrong with you, because there's 7 billion people in the world, and there's only one of you. And if you can't get a few clients, and it's obvious that you have lots of spaces open, then they believe there's something seriously wrong with you.
That is such a good point. I think the same, when other people come to me and I see that maybe their branding is on, but why don't they have clientele? And I'm thinking, what's missing there? What's the connection? You can't find one person that you can connect with on a deeper level that you can help. But people are always looking for these extravagant solutions, and they're thinking of the way to, generate $1 million rather than their first 5 or 10K. So I can kind of understand it.
Yeah, it's crazy because people give away too much. They telegraph too much. It's like people will literally like there's literally people who teach business who will like telegraph that they're fucking broke this month. So are you fucking stupid? Nobody else's business like what's in your bank account. Are you crazy? Like what? And it's like, no, man, being authentic, because there's this huge thing for authenticity. It's being
Yes.
authentic, man. Authenticity. It's
Yes.
like, okay, well, there's authenticity and there's just being a fucking moron. Because it's like you go on a first date. It's like you can be an honest person, but it doesn't mean you have to tell her you have a fucking pimple on the inside of your asshole on the first date or ever.
Mitch,
Right? It's like,
this is why I got into personal branding, because I have a really big problem right now with the word authenticity when it comes
yes.
to personal branding and when it comes to advertising yourself online. Because just because someone says, like your example, that they're broke, well, they might not have been talking also about their addiction to drugs or whatever. So they may have this
Mm,
authentic, image, and you don't even know what's behind that veil. Now, what the
mm.
people that I usually work with are guys who have this perception of, oh, wait, my pictures aren't good enough, but that's me. But I'm like, no, bro, that's not you. And that's not what people want to
That's
see
right.
of you. Okay.
That's right.
That's not going to attract new clients for your business. It's not going to attract new women, okay, or new friends into your life. I don't care whether Julian Blanc or anyone else told you to do that as a challenge. Like, you need to put your best foot forward, or the foot forward that is going to get you the kind of results that you're seeking, no matter
Yes.
what it is.
Glamour is attractive. There's a reason why like there's fashion models and the glamour, and it's the glamour is real. Like you go, if you want to play the game, you fucking play the game. Glamour is real. And what is glamour? Glamour is mystery. Glamour is hiding. Glamour, like the glamour is when he has the picture and he's not looking at the camera. Glamour is when she has the sunglasses on because she's hiding her eyes. Glamour is the IKEA photo of the computer desk with the computer on it showing like how amazing it is, but you can't find any cords. It's like, where are the cords? Well, the cords are messy. You can't have them there. It's glamour. Glamour is hiding. That's why there's filters. What does it hide? It's like so glamour is always there's you don't give away everything. That's what makes something glamorous. Like the photo of the DJ that looks super epic with the crowd there, and he actually looks like the fucking perfect human. He's got his hand up and you see the fucking veins and the jacked and the whole thing, and everything just looks like the perfect moment. Well, what do you not know about that moment? You don't know what he's thinking in his head. You don't see the Red Bull that fell over and fucking made the thing sticky. You didn't see the fact that he's wearing fucking mismatching socks. It's like you don't see the reality because the glamour hides everything. And so there's this big push to remove the glamour and be like, no makeup Wednesday, like tag all your girlfriends, show your face with no makeup. It's like, okay, that's
Yeah.
fucking fine. That's great for confidence or if you want to do that shit. But don't ever fucking sleep on the fact that fucking glamour is important. You want to strategically show people pieces of yourself. A relationship, your friendships, that's different. But if we're talking about online, we're talking about business. It's like, I'm sorry, motherfuckers, but in the 80s when we did business and there was not social media, people didn't know that their clients fucking political things, or they didn't know what their fucking clients ate for dinner yesterday. People did business before social media, and people did business before snooping into everybody's business. And yeah, you're right, man. This whole authenticity, like, it's complete fucking horseshit,
And
because
then,
some weird third eye fucking weird ass spirituality stuff's crept into the business world, and then people wonder why they have no client. I can't get clients. Well,
mhm.
if you posted less about the sandwich you're fucking eating and how much you hate Trump, and posted more about giving value in business, maybe you would get some more business.
and then on
It's not
top
hard to
of
figure out.
that, and then on top of that, okay, I'll get some people that'll reach out to me after a few days of not posting a story, and they'll think maybe I've died. And I'm over here thinking I'm posting about my life, and I'm being more transparent than probably 99% of the people out there. But for some reason, I've created this frame, whether it was self-imposed or not, that if I'm not posting, that there's something wrong with me. But everyone
Yes.
else, you can just go about just being a follower or sucking value or putting your little, trolling posts on my wall
Yes.
or on someone else's wall. Okay. So that's just something I had to put out there. I want to ask you though, the morality trap with online marketing. You've talked about this as well. So in this dating industry, okay, that I've been a part of for a while now, and I kind of push back against a little bit right now, um,
Mm.
I see that some of it doesn't have very strong morals, especially on the seduction side, okay, where they're catering towards these very vulnerable men and telling them that they can get laid in under 30 minutes or they can become an alpha male or be sleeping with Playboy models. So why do people think that it's okay to break the moral compass when it comes to marketing?
Because they probably never had it to begin with.
Mm.
Right. Like it's like you remember, I don't know if you remember old school, like Owen RSD would say, like, most people don't like he had a program, The Blueprint, a long time ago, if you remember
Yep.
that one. Yeah, and he said most people don't know what they value, they don't know who they are. Right. They don't have any of that. So if they never had any of that to begin with, and they're fucking reactive and followers, like you said, and blowing around with the wind and fucking just going around copying and all that, well then why would it be anything different when they try business? Right. So you got to know who you are. You got to figure out your value. You got to figure out your values, figure out your ethics, because then you know where you won't break and where you'll break. So the reason they're bending ethics in business is because they never fucking had them to begin with. And they're just doing what they see, not understanding that there could be different intentions behind stuff. Like, for example, like some people, and then there's this. So then, and then there's people who think things are unethical, but they're actually, to me, they're super ethical. So
Give me
like
an
making
example
it like
there.
hardcore scarcity in marketing. All right, this offer expires in fucking 48 hours, and I'm gonna cut it off if you don't get it. Now, a lot of people would say, well, why would you do that? It's bullshit. Like, it's almost unethical. And to me, there's nothing more ethical, because I understand that if I don't put a deadline or an expiry date on an offer, that people generally won't take it, because they look for a way out. They don't do anything unless there's some super urgency to get off the couch and do it. So I know that people will miss the opportunity just because I understand how human beings work. So if I don't put scarcity there, they don't do shit. And if they don't do shit, then they're not going to get the result that they're looking for. And if they don't go towards and get that result that they're looking for, their life's going to get shittier. So it's my responsibility to make them get off their ass as much as possible. So therefore I will do what it takes to get them to act. So it's like, it's different. Some people think that's unethical. I'm like, I think it's unethical not to. People think it's unethical to hard sell or hard close somebody on the phone. And I'm saying, well, if I already fucking went through the thing and figured out that, like, they do need this program, they fucking can afford it, and it really would help them, then I'm unethical if I don't sell it as hard as I can and do my best job.
You're not doing your job. You're
No,
not
there's no
taking yeah,
responsibility.
you're not even taking ownership of, your business acumen and what you have to offer and how you could change someone's life. You're just letting them slip right through and walk right out the
Yep.
front door and go
Yeah,
into the other house that's
you're
burning
not doing
down.
them a service. You're doing them a disservice, doing yourself a disservice, you're doing the whole fucking world a disservice. Why'd you even get out of bed and try if you're going to fucking half-ass it like that?
But you have to understand that there will be those people that are like, oh, why are you trying to hard close me? Or I need to think about it. And there's always going to be people like that. What I've
Yep.
started to see is the more that I put myself out there, okay, the more negative pushback I get. All right. And it's like, you either love me or you hate me. I make a post on Facebook about the subtle art of not giving a fuck. And all of a sudden, people are up in arms, like, oh, I love that book, or I hate that book, or boom, boom, boom. It's like people
Yes,
get
of course.
triggered. And
Yes.
why? Why do people get so triggered? And how do you use that in marketing?
People get triggered because what they do is they attach their attached beliefs to their identity, instead of just letting the beliefs be their fucking beliefs. So they identify with them. So then what they believe, like, becomes like an extra finger or an extra toe. So when you challenge that, it's like you're threatening or you're trying to cut off a piece of them. And it's super weak to fucking base your identity on things you believe. and all your beliefs. That's called ego in a way. So what happens is people identify with all of their beliefs and all of that type of shit and the things they own, right? So like they identify with the guitar that they have. It's a Fender. So if you say you love Ibanez and Fender sucks, because what they did is they took their that thing that they own, whether it's they can own beliefs or they can own products, doesn't matter. Whatever you have control over is what your brain kind of owns in a sense. So and that's why people get possessive over lovers, is because they believe they own the person, right? So it's like they own the guitar. It's my guitar, my girl. It's like they get possessed, this, that. So
especially
ownership,
with marriage.
but, yes, and so what they do, yeah, because it's kind of is what it is in a way, at least traditionally. And so then people, all these things, like even the Fender guitar or the belief about Trump, both of those things they attach to their identity as see people like the ego. It's like people need reasons to feel good about myself. Like I have this guitar, I have this belief, this moral belief, I have this job, I have this nice ass, I have all these things, therefore I am awesome. Instead of I am awesome just because I fucking exist, just because I say so, just because I'm a human on this earth just like everybody else, and I deserve to fucking be awesome because I am. And so that's, to me, that's healthy, because you don't need a reason, right? You get like Tyler talked about in the blueprints, like you go, if the feeling you get when you get a new haircut, or the feeling you get when you get like a new fucking shirt and you wear it around, that confidence, and then it goes away after a few days, right? Because you're like, oh, I already had the hair for a few days, I forget that confidence or that feeling, or that outfit, you wear it a few times already, so it doesn't have that feeling anymore. But it's like, did it ever occur to you that you should feel like that all the time? The shirt didn't do jack shit. It's not the shirt. It's how you felt about yourself. And why can't you just choose to feel about yourself for any reason?
This goes back to the beginning of our conversation where you said that you were given a golf club, okay, and you didn't know how to use it. So I can give people a golf club of, how to be a more attractive guy, how to start, the fact that you just need to start feeling enough and start showing love to other people. And forgiving people that have wronged you, or forgiving yourself for things that have happened in your past. I'll give them that golf club and they'll be like, I don't even want that golf club. Okay. I don't want to go near it. It's too scary to even hold it, because there's power. There's a lot of power in consciousness, in awareness, in groundedness. And it's really scary, I think, for a lot of people to go down that rabbit hole, as you say, because they start to see that, oh, wait, talking to Father Freedom, maybe freedom is possible. Maybe I could make it out of this misery or trap that I'm in. But so many people don't want that. They like settling for mediocrity. They're scared of success. I see it in myself, okay? As I start to level up in business, in my social life and things like this, there are aspects of anxiety or fear that come up. And then I need to ask myself, well, how am I going to respond to this? Am I going to fall back into the same negative thought loops and the same negative patterns? Or am I going to consciously break them and embrace the bullshit and embrace the suck and push through it? And that's something that's kind of defined my life. Now, you said you took back power, I think, at one point, whether it was in this interview or in your podcast. And then it went into, is it bad to give up power, like to delegate? And this is something right now, okay, I was having a chat with another mindset coach the other day about delegation. So what's your relationship with delegating tasks to others? And at what point did you start to do it and realize its effectiveness?
Yeah, I learned from Michael McAllowitz, like when I started delegating tasks, I'm too busy. And then I realized that actually makes me 10 times busier, because you delegate tasks. God, it's terrible, man. 10 times busier when I started
Don't
delegating because
scare me like that, Mitch.
yo, but I got there's light at the end of the tunnel, a very, very bright light. So, um, the reason why I started getting busier and it got worse when I started delegating is because when you're delegating tasks, like, so to my assistant, for example, I delegate her a task. Um, when I delegate her the task, she's still asking me a bunch of questions for it. I basically have to still do it for her. And it just made so much more extra work. And
Mhm.
instead, what I started doing is I started delegating her outcomes and results. I said, because a task is like there's tasks involved in a result. It's like, okay, I want you to go upload this video to YouTube. Well, that's not a task because that's actually not a task, because what's going to happen is she's going to get back to me. Okay, what do you want it named? What do you want the description to be? What's going to be the link? Is it going to be closed caption? When do I do it? When do you want me to schedule it? This and that. And then literally you fucking, okay, well, I could have just done this myself. Now I was fucking wasting so much time. And then, so you're like, fuck this delegation shit. I'm just going to do it myself. And then you get back into that trap and you never get out. Well, the secret is to delegate an outcome. So you say, listen, you're in charge of, uploading my videos to YouTube, and you're in charge of everything, so you don't need to ask me if you want to, if there's going to be questions that you're going to have to ask me routinely, then maybe we're going to have a separate call for that, so we can do it one time and then you can have that, or maybe there's other people you need to talk to, but you're responsible for the out result. And so when they're responsible for the result, they start to figure it out themselves, and then they don't have to come to you, because what happens is when you delegate a task, you're still doing the thinking for them. But when you tell them that you're delegating them a result and an outcome, then you give them the permission and the ability to think for themselves to solve the problem, and then you actually do. So the problem is with just delegating tasks is you're actually stopping people from growing, because you're not allowing them to think. You're not giving them permission to be able to think. When I started, here's a quick little tiny example. When I
Yeah.
started delegating flights to my assistant, because I fucking would, before this COVID hoax,
Yeah.
I'd fly so damn much.
Same.
Like 52 flights a year. And so, I mean, geez, I spent half my life booking flights. And so at first it was like, I need you to book me a flight here. And she'd be like, okay, sir, when do you want to land? What kind of a layover do you want? She's like, this and that. And then it was like, I'd be like, oh, this, make sure it's not 3. She's here's the 3 flights I got, sir. Which one do you like best? Oh, I like this one the best. Okay. It's like, oh, and then it's like, oh, do you want any upgrades, or where do you want to sit, or
The
all this stuff.
food,
And
business
yeah. And so
class. Yeah.
and it was like that every time, just
Oh.
mindlessly, until finally, after a year, probably, because I'm so stubborn, I was like, wait a minute, I'm probably fucking saying this. There's a pattern here. Like, so I told Noe, I was like, okay, so uh, if I'm book me on any flight, as long as it doesn't go over X price, it doesn't go over X travel time, layovers are a minimum and a maximum X window. I always want a seat, within, I always want an aisle seat. And if there's an upgrade for between X and X dollars that allows me to go in the first row, then I'll take it. If not, that's fine. I'm always going to have, X, Y, Z luggage, and this and that. And then once I said that, then I said, you're responsible for that outcome. Then she fucking just did it every time without asking, because she already knew my parameters.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw the parameters because I see always the connection between business and dating. And like, I just saw the parameter connection between like the people that you hire for your business and also the people that hire you, that you bring on as clients. And by setting up the parameters, you're making life a lot easier for yourself because in a simpler term, you're qualifying, you're bringing people in a certain system, so you know who you're getting. And the same thing when you delegate that task, and if you're expecting an outcome, well, you kind of know what kind of outcome you're looking for, rather than just delegating the task, and they may come out with something that is entirely different than you expected.
Yes, and that's the beauty of allowing your team to fucking find their own route. Like it's like you're here, you are, and here's a result that I want you to get. Here are the boundaries and the parameters. However you get there is up to you. So it's like micromanaging goodbye, because the more you micromanage the tasks, and then you're doing thinking for them and yourself, and then you're going to be busier than ever if you delegate that way. So remove yeah, remove that fucking micromanaging for sure.
All right. We're going to jump into personal brands for a sec. And I just want to bring up a personal story that I had just like 2 days ago, where I'm sitting at a cafe about to do some editing. I do a lot of photography these days in my personal branding workshops that I offer. And I start a
Smart.
conversation with the guy sitting next to me who's really into venture capital. And when I bring up the word personal brand, he's triggered and he goes, "Oh, I don't like people that are personal branding themselves. Okay. It seems so fake, this and that, this and that." So, why do people have a complicated relationship, you think, with the word personal branding?
You know, I do too. I hate the fucking phrase, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's just that guy, for example, just kind of needs a reframe, because it's not like, it's kind of like copywriting. It's like you can hate it, but you can't get away from it. You got
Nope.
to fucking do it. So if you're good, if you have to do it, if it's non-negotiable, then you might as well purposely do it in a way that gets you the result that you want. So in your student or your friend's example there,
Not my
it's
student
like,
or friend, just some random guy sitting next to me at the
okay,
cafe.
right. Oh, okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So to Rando there, it's like, Rando Jr., it's like, the truth is like, you know, you could hate the word personal brand, and then the people who talk about it, and then the fake brands, and everyone's trying to be the fake Gary Vee or whatever. And I get that. And I hate that too. Most normal people do, right? Like, and that's fine, but you don't throw the baby out with the fucking bathwater. It's like, because in this day and age, we're social, we're all connected. There is zero way to get around the idea or the fact that we all have a personal brand, whether we like it or not. Whether you want to call it a personal brand, call it a reputation, call it a fucking presence, call it whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter what you label it. It's just language. The truth is that you have your business card is now in everybody's face, virtual all the time. Your reputation is right there. So you can either ignore that and just let it give value, be natural, and just let it flow and just see what happens. If you want to do that, fine. But some people want to actively control that reputation and that perception, and that's totally valid too. And it's like, so who cares about the people who are fakers and weird, and who cares about, you know, the cheesy personal branding experts, like all that shit? That's different. That doesn't negate the whole idea in general, is what I would say.
It's one of the first things that I tell my clients or prospects or people that I work with is that they already have a personal brand. And whether or not they choose to embrace it or neglect it is on them, not on the society. So it is up to them to decide what they want to do, whether they want to hide in the shadow, be completely off social media, which is fine. You don't have to be on social media. No one is forcing you to do that. But if you are going to create profiles and you're looking for some kind of result on Instagram or on online dating or something like this, you should be putting your best foot forward. And if you can't do it alone, that's why I think that it's very valuable now that there are a lot of industry leaders in the marketing industry, like yourself, and I'm trying to push in this direction as well, that will help people to realize what their innate value is and how they can advertise to the world in an authentic, and effective way.
Yes,
With that
that's a
being,
very, very good, very noble thing to do, and I think that, like, it has to. If especially if you're making money, you're trying to make money, especially if you're trying to do a business, and you don't focus on your personal brand and your presence and your reputation, you're an idiot. You're an idiot because you're throwing all the money off the table. Like, you're leaving 90% of the money on the table.
with that being said, so you have this really great example that you bring up very often, that if America is the personal brand, Hollywood is its content strategy. So did you come up with that? And can you elaborate more about that?
I actually didn't come up with it. There was some conspiracy documentary on YouTube. I can't even remember which one. It was like late at night. I was just fucking around, like looking through, and this one. It was like he was a stunt, like a Hollywood stunt double, maybe one of the most famous ones of all time or something. And he was saying, he said that he was like, he's like content is like, he's like, this is why the US is was an kind of, well, not anymore, but was the world power. Like they had that status, and people gave them extra concessions just because they were America, and this reputation America had came purely from their content. Now, of course, that content allowed them, they put in agreements and different they got themselves into different deals, of course, and they convinced, all the gold to go to them after they did a lot of shit. But like but the it was the content that did it. It's like Hollywood, and there's very, very clear and declassified ties between CIA and Hollywood, and that they're told what they were told. I mean, probably still, but they were told what kind of content to push to the world in their stuff. And I mean, that seems kind of obvious to me, but there's direct declassified proof of the link between CIA and Hollywood in order to subvert and build the brand and the image of the USA. And it was crazy to me to think. I was like, that's so true. Like Hollywood, not just because of the CIA link, but in general, just that makes so much sense, because just American rhetoric, American values, all that stuff is just being pushed and made famous to the whole world. And then then Bollywood in India is created because of that. And it's just it was just a super insane concept to me. It's really cool.
It makes a lot of sense as well, because I'm someone that has left the United States, started living in other countries, learning new languages, meeting a lot of different people from different cultures. And people have a perception of America, which is quite um, at odds with what's really going on in America these days. And so when people tell me like, oh my God, I want to move to America, my dreams are going to come true, I'm going to start making a lot of money, everything's going to be super easy, I'm thinking, good luck, go for it. Like, it's not necessarily such this Hollywood script, but that's just it, is that it's something that has been brainwashed into many people all over the world, thinking that America is this, dreamland, okay, of opportunity. Yes. And then when I went back to New York for business last year, my Airbnb host said the same thing. He had moved from another country to New York with all these dreams and all these aspirations. And then he got there and he's like, oh shit, this is not what I expected. I think, go for it.
No, I was going to say, like, it just popped in my head. The American dream. That's nothing more than a marketing campaign.
Yeah. And then it went into a European dream. And I was in Singapore last year, and I started to see this Singaporean dream that maybe is not necessarily marketed like that, but people from other Asian countries want to go there to make more money.
Were they calling it that?
I mean, maybe I titled that.
But I do know other countries who have titled theirs that, and that's interesting too, because then you're still a bitch to America because you're just copying their thing. It's like, I know so many. I'm friends with a lot of the dating guys and stuff like that. I just had Julian on my podcast actually. I still need to release it. But like anyway, a lot of these new dating companies, they come out and then they're like, they all got boot camps, and it's like, why the fuck do you have a boot camp? Like, why in the world would you use some other company's term? Like, that makes no sense to me. It's like it's nuts to me. Like, that's a huge thing for anybody who's creating a business in a category where you have role models, you have entrenched competitors, you have people who are leaders and who have changed the game and valid, like, very cool things. But don't name your shit the same thing as their shit just because
but Mitch, like, the word father and the word freedom, you didn't invent them, okay? And so if someone wants to do like a live training with someone, how many options for word choice do they have? And when it goes back to, with the Jay Abraham example, maybe they see that this is the best way to word it. So why do you think that someone needs to invent the wheel and create a completely new word choice just to market their product or service?
It comes down to actually Jack Trout and Reese in the 21 immutable laws of marketing. They talk about it has to do with It has to do with what pops up when that word comes up. So if for example, if Real Social Dynamics had made a whole career or business out of the word boot camp, and then when you come out with your new company and you say boot camp, all of a sudden they're not thinking about your company. You're making them think about the competition. And so, because words have baggage, they have collective baggage. And so it's not all the time. Like you can, like, for example, you do a webinar. Yeah, you can say you have a webinar maybe. And it's like, but I try to make it say something like a video report, or I change it to something because I'm not in control of the baggage that is attached to a word. And if there's too much of it, or if the word is too popularized by somebody else, I don't want my clients and customers thinking of, we're even being cluttered with that baggage. Oh, it's webinar. It's just a fucking sales pitch with some half shitty content for an hour in front of it. I don't want to watch that shit, and then you're battling against the word like, or this is not just your regular webinar. This is really valuable. It's like, but you're still, now you're having to waste precious ad time and copy time, like trying to defend the word and tell or say how yours is different. I prefer to make up. Yeah. And I truly prefer to make up a new word. I don't, there's too much baggage attached to a lot of these popular words, including the competitor's name. And I just don't want that there. I want them to think about me. So instead of a boot camp, mine will be called the, finger her silly experience or something. Like, I don't know what the fuck. I make some other shit up. I would make it so that it's known what it is. Like say, like the idea of a boot camp. What's the idea of a boot camp? The idea of a boot camp is you're kind of like, it's structured. You're told what to do. You got to do it no matter what, kind of thing. Okay. Well, what other phrase or words can I use to convey that idea? And then you can make it your own. But I don't want, for example, to call myself a boot camp, because then I don't want them to think of other dating companies, because I don't want that baggage attached to my company.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's jump really quickly over to this one topic where you were going on a rant about how, do you have to have a quality product in order to sell these days? And I think that this is actually why I started to take my my company in this direction, because I saw that there are a lot of people out there who are very financially successful with really shitty products. And then I looked at myself and kind of the experiences, the knowledge that I garnered over the last 10 years, and especially in the last year and a half, traveling the world, doing business development, coaching men and working on myself as well. And I started to realize that it wasn't necessarily the knowledge or the product that I had. It was just the way that I marketed it. So why do you think that people can basically get away with having a non-quality product and turn that into a 6 or 7 figure business?
Right, Dave, literally my connection just went out and I missed everything you said. But if I were to sum it up in a few seconds, would you say like, I made the comment that you don't have to have a quality product in order to sell?
That's right.
Yes. Okay. All right. Yes. So that can be a little bit controversial, but the logic is pretty simple. Look at all the shitty products that sell. It's like there's too many examples of it. It's like, so, and shitty is also in the eye of the beholder. It's like, I mean, like what's shitty to me can be the fucking God's the most amazing thing in the world to somebody else. And you can think of that as ideas too. So like the idea of Scientology is pretty shitty product, right? Scientology is pretty shitty. Like it's a cult. It's obviously false. There's some weird shit and it's like you can't get out and it's super fucked up. It's like that's a shitty product. But to some people it's incredible, of course, because they're bought into the cult. Now, if that shitty product can sell, that just tells me that like you don't have to have a shitty product to sell a shitty product. Now, if you have morals and ethics and you don't want to have a shitty product, and also it's going to be hard to sell people the second time a shitty product. So you want to have a good product for all of the obvious logical reasons you want to have a good product, but it's just I like to illustrate the point that with good marketing and good sales, it doesn't matter what the product is, because there are deeper core emotions that people buy. So if people want to buy something, if people feel lonely, well, there's a million products that can fit loneliness, and it could be shitty or great. It could be a pet rock. It could be an actual pet. It could be a Tinder date. It could be Scientology. You can make a case through marketing and sales, that anything can cure your loneliness. And as long as you sell it and market it with the right way, people will buy it, whether like it's a pet rock, for God's sakes. Like, so like that just shows me that like you can sell everything, including shitty products with great marketing and sales, because it's easy to make the link between, hey, you got this problem, this can cure it or whatever. And we're so irrational, man. It doesn't even make sense. Like,
I'm seeing
but
the
yeah,
connection right now, Mitch, to the dating world, where when especially we push towards the seduction side, and a lot of companies teach tactics and techniques. Well, they're teaching the guys how to sell or market themselves, but behind that, their product is shit. It's filled with all this toxicity. All right. It's filled with all this apathy and this hatred towards women and towards themselves. Yeah. All right. And this longing just for sex and money and power and all this shit. So, you can get results with women, okay, with that 30-minute lay or whatever it is, but you're going to be empty. And I think
you're gonna be empty, and then how long is she gonna stick around?
Not gonna stick around.
She's not gonna tell her friends that you're awesome, right? Like,
or it's gonna be a toxic relationship.
Yeah, it ends there. That's right.
So
you can get,
continue.
Well, I'll just say, like, marketing and sales gets you to the door, or marketing gets you to the door. Sales gets you through the door, but a good product stops them from walking their ass back out.
All right. Well, we're into our final stage of the segment, and I want to just talk to you about a few more things. So first off is the transition from cancel culture to shame culture. So a guilt-based versus a shame-based culture. And you've talked a lot about this, so maybe you can give the listeners a bit of insight into how that's happened and some more details on this.
Yeah, it's super relevant for dating too right now, because people don't know what the hell they can get away with, what they can do. They're scared they're going to be fucking charged with rape if they say something stupid, even. Like, it's just crazy shit going on.
Yep.
So like most Western cultures were guilt-based cultures, which basically meant that, like, the definition between guilt or the difference between guilt and shame, for example, is not immediately obvious, but it's pretty simple difference. So guilt is you feel bad for something that you did. Now, that doesn't mean that's who you are. It's something that you did and you feel guilty about, and you can redeem yourself. Shame is the idea that you did something wrong. That's who you are as a person. You can't redeem yourself, and you should be ashamed of yourself. See, guilt's like you should be ashamed. Guilt's like you should be ashamed of your actions. Go think about what you did and how you're going to fix it. Shame is like you should be ashamed of yourself. Go die. Go kill. You see on social media, go kill yourself. Be canceled. You're done forever. Louis C.K. It's like you don't deserve to ever come back. You should fucking just die. And so that's where we're moving. Like, and so there's typically, and you, this can be researched a bit, but there are guilt-based societies and shame-based societies, and this is why I believe in the East. I think it's Japan had a very strong like a shame and honor based system where, like, that's why you'd see in old, talk about Japanese going to battle and stuff like that. They need to die on the battlefield for that honor, because they can't bring that shame back or something like that. And so shame is like irreversible. So you got the hardcore leftists right now taking over the whole goddamn world with they're just manipulating language, changing definitions around, and basically what they're doing is they're using shame as what they're doing is they're taking words and they're flipping their meanings around. So like basically they change the word what racist means, and then all of a sudden, as long as you exist, you're a race. You exist, you're white, you're a racist. If you're silent, you don't stand up for some injustice, you're racist. And so therefore they lower the bar to the floor about what, for example, what racism means. Therefore everyone is a catch-all. So everyone's a racist. And then they make you feel shame about that. and you can never change that. Like white fragility and all these crazy things coming out. It's like you need to feel shame forever because the core of who you are can never be changed. And that's how it's shame is what all these types of people are using today to control people. They're making you feel ashamed. If you don't, wear a mask, you're killing grandma. You should be ashamed of yourself and all this type of shit. And so it's gone too far. There's no redemption in today's culture. Cancel culture. It's like you're not canceled and then you get to try again next month. It's like you're canceled. They want you done. Like they prefer you dead. And it's super weird. Like it's not even dramatic to say that because if you see these online like comment flames, just like people arguing online, it gets so bad sometimes that really, oh, fucking kill yourself. It's like, what? You want someone to die because you guys disagree on something? It's like, but that's just that's a signal, and that's showing an example of that shit. It's like you can't redeem yourself in today's culture, as long as you believe. If you believe you can't, then like if you fall into that trap. So I would never fall into that trap. Like you don't cancel me, bitch. I fucking cancel you. Like I'm not being canceled. Are you kidding me? But it's not easy for people. Most people can't stand up to shit like that. Most people aren't the rebellious type who will just fucking do that and go to the like die on a hill like that. But that's why they love people who will, because they can secretly get some strength from that.
But most people just don't even see it coming, or if they do see it coming, they just ignore it and they just let it happen to them anyway. And then they take kind of a victim mentality after the fact, okay, and they don't know
Yeah, they
why it
spread the shame.
happened. Yeah, they
They
start to
share
spread the
yeah.
shame or start to push blame on other people, or when other people want to help them out of, that trap that they've fallen into, they go, no, 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 I prefer to be here. I like the shame. Okay, this is who I am. And they start to identify with it, which is really
Yes.
dangerous.
It's especially dangerous for men, because what happens with men with shame is it either sits inward and turns into depression. Usually what happens with shame with men. See, there was a journal study paper by this psychologist who interviewed like 100 different murderers in jail and find out the reason that they did, like gangsters and stuff like that. And the number one reason is because they felt dissed. That was literally the words they used. They felt dissed, and dissed is shamed. It's like they like it, like the concept of losing face. You made them lose face. You shamed them in front of their peers. They'll fucking kill you for it. And so that's one direction of it. The second direction of shame. So for men, and that's so crazy right now, because in our cultures right now, they're just doing everything they can to shame men, especially white men, which is nuts. And so what's happening is when you put shame onto men, men are going to either lash out, or it's going to go in. And what happens when shame goes inward? Shame goes inward and it turns to resentment, and it turns to rage. And then you got like school shooters and shit. It's like, it's not good. It's what's happening in our culture right now is super bullying. But the cool thing is it's actually a small minority. So like you don't have to worry about like like virtually all women that you're going to go meet, you're going to go hang out with, they don't buy this shit.
Oh,
And so you don't have to fucking walk on eggshells in the world. You think you do, but you don't.
I'm starting to experience this a lot where people are shaming me for asking, what has been something good that's happened to you this year because of Corona? And someone throws at me, oh, you have white privilege, you wouldn't understand, okay? Or, with the dating world, like, oh, you're a white guy, like, you dress well, like women should be so easy for you. And they just don't even understand like the backstory of where I've come from,
Sure.
or
Yeah,
even just
exactly.
having a mindset shift of like, well, maybe he's not that different from me. He just looks at things a little bit differently. Is that
Yeah.
possible? Okay. And then
Right.
with that being said, now we're moving into these, as you've talked about, tribes, okay, where the society is becoming very tribalistic.
Yeah.
And you mentioned before that never before have men and women been so divided. But it's always about sex and survival in the end. And that's why I think that it's kind of beautiful that during this coronavirus, there are a lot of new coaches in the personal development industry, because I think they start to bring to light that there are these divisions in the sexes, and that people do need to start connecting, whether they're wearing their masks or social distancing or not. So talk to me a little bit about tribalism and the psychology behind it.
It seems to be cyclical. Like the more I research history, the more it's like they say the further back you research, the further forward you can see ahead in the future, and that seems to be true. The idea of like individualism and capitalism, that's relatively very new, and it's actually, I mean, the vast majority of all social systems and government in the history of the world has been socialism and communism. Capitalism is extremely rare, and so we're so lucky we even have a slice of it, which is kind of scary to me and ridiculous. But humans are ridiculous anyway. Yeah, this seems to repeat itself, because it's like like a like a seesaw, and when things get too good, like capitalism is like individualism in a way. The individual is the individual is important, and the group is secondary. Whereas socialism, communism, it's like you are a cog in the wheel, the group is everything, you're just a piece in that. And it seems to be a seesaw between the two over periods of time. And so with the obviously you can almost think, like, you can extrapolate a little bit. It's like, well, if you make the individual super important, at some point people are going to break apart, and kind of they're gonna break apart into these groups, and then it's like communism, socialism is like, no, we all need to be one big group. So there seems to be this like accordion of the expansion and contraction in terms of these social groups, but it's not completely. It's also like, it seems possible that like that we're not even meant to be in this big of groups anyways. Like, I mean, shit, like, monkey groups and stuff like that, they're relatively small. The ideas of fucking 10 million people in a city is super foreign to us, and then we got through social media and all of that, it's like we're all connected in some crazy way. So it's very weird. It's very weird to see what's happening, but it's actually, I think I don't know if the tribalism is bad or if it's good. And I don't know, because like, what's the opposite? Like, the opposite is like we're the Borg, or like hive mind. We're all one.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel like is some people are trying to push right now, trying to happen. It's like, I don't like that. I don't like communism. I don't like socialism. But on the other hand, extreme individualism, that's also creating its own. Like, I think one way to look at it is possibly that there's no getting around violence and war, and the fact that that's what we are, and that's what we've always been. I think in all the years of recorded history, I think how many 4,000 something years of recorded history, only 382 days without war. And like, it's just, and it's also like the idea that freedom and equality are everlasting enemies. Where you have more freedom, you have less equality. Where you have more equality, you have less freedom. And those two are always pulling and tugging on each other. And then you could almost say that's what capitalism is, socialism. It's like equality and equal versus the free rights. So that's always pushing back and forth. So I think there's never a perfect system. It's always going to be this tug of war, and sometimes one person pushes pulls too far, and then it fucks shit up really bad, and then you have to kind of go back to the center. I think that it's just this endless tug of war, where there is no such thing as like a perfect system. There's no such thing as world peace. It just kind of is this thing.
It just is. And if there is going to be war, and there is going to be violence, and there is going to be aggression, and movements like Black Lives Matter, feminism, whether you connect with them or not, we can also create movements for connection and for love.
Yeah, there's nothing stopping anyone from doing that.
And for looking at the bright side of life and finding positivity in all the negative things that are going on in the world, and start to make a greater push in that direction. And that's something that I resonate with.
That's so true. It's like people are like, all these movements suck. It's like, make a good one then.
So yeah, man, this has been a really great time with you, Father Freedom. How about you just tell us a little bit about, are you bringing on students right now? Or what do you do exactly with your clients right now?
Well, so right now we're restructuring the whole business. We hired on a CEO, and we're kind of building everything from the ground up again. So we have I have like 40 products that are all not available right now. The
Mhm.
only product available is a copy critiquing service. So basically, if you have some copy and you want to take it to the next level, you give it to me, and I'll Mitchify it and and take it to that next level rather than having me. It's my fees are obnoxiously high to write copy,
Yeah.
but they're actually very fair if you just give me copy and I make it better because that's way less time for me.
Mhm.
Um, but so we're doing that, and then I'm just focusing on creating a lot of good content for YouTube and Facebook, and so we have like some huge, cool programs coming up. We had to restructure because man, through with COVID gone, we can't do all our seminars anymore. So we had to we're restructuring everything. So we have a big program coming up. It's probably going to take a year to create because we have this big vision for it and everything. So in the meantime, just putting out a lot of content and having fun, I guess.
And if someone is still listening and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, if you're still listening, I feel bad for you, son. Just kidding. Who wouldn't want to listen to two sexy guys talk about making money and being popular? Anyway, my
Amen.
personal Facebook, Mitch Miller, and then YouTube, Opposed Media, and then like David said there on Spotify, Father Freedom's Unsafe Space is my podcast, which I really need to record another episode.
Definitely highly recommended. Check out that podcast. A lot of value. Mitch,
Cool.
thank you so much for coming on today. Yeah, we talked about a lot of topics from cancel culture
Yes.
to, Hollywood as the personal, content strategy of America's personal brand. We talked about tribalism. Okay. We talked about why is Facebook a cancer, the morality trap behind online marketing. So just so much value. And if you guys are interested in the work that I do, just go over and check out my site, davegoaldevolve.com. And, I'll talk to you all soon. So thank you so much, Mitch.
Thank you, man.
All
Appreciate it.
right. Peace.